Hello, welcome. Cherie, Doyen here. This is Women Rising, and this is going to be a weekly episode or gathering around moving women out of struggle into creation. That's my passion. We don't have to suffer. We just don't. Pain happens. Suffering is a choice. Suffering comes from a space of reaction where we're always backing up versus taking action and creating change. Change happens from the inside out. So today, we're working on a series around emotional freedom. You know, the Buddhists talk about detaching from emotion. I like to think of it more as diffusing emotion, because I find that often in these hidden circumstances in our lives, and these circumstances that we've chosen to turn away from, we have our pain and our wisdom locked side by side. So, that being said, we're going to talk a little bit about emotion, what it should look like, and how to get back there, right? So, you know, when I think about the purest form of emotion, I think about an infant. An infant's emotion is in the absolute purest state, right? We know that, like, a child can be laughing one second and crying the next because suddenly the thought came in that it was hungry, right? Or laughing, and suddenly a discomfort shows up and the tears start, right? That is the purest state of emotion. That's where we should be. But, you know, as we begin to grow, what happens, right? Things begin to, our truths and experiences aren't validated, right? People say, oh, that didn't happen, or you shouldn't be upset, or, you know, some circumstance happens and 2 seconds later life is back to normal and it's like a blip and you don't know what to do with it, right? And or, you know, people around us start questioning our perception, right? We start getting into a space where it's like, you know, this is how I read that interaction, and this is the story that's being created over here, right? So there becomes a severing of truth and story, right? And we don't know what we don't know what is true. We don't know what is real, right? You know, another space is, you know, secrets, right? Secrets cause our words to be silenced. We put them in a package, right? And we hide them away. Only they don't stay hidden. They're constantly gnawing at us, right? And then what happens? You know, by 12, 13, things begin to pile up. And they start piling up. And it's just on top, until every circumstance we enter is colored by the emotion of the past, right? We have very little clarity around what is true, what is real. Often I hear that crazy word show up because we doubt our inner selves. We doubt who we are and why we're here, right? We can't separate the illusion of the story from the pearl of truth, right? So today becomes a choice, right? Today we can choose to do something different, right? So if we come to a space where we're like, all right, I'm going to let the air out of these old hidden away secrets and packages, right? So that's diffusing all the stagnant emotion so that you can show up differently, right? Without the weight, without the distraction, without the lens that covers experience in sameness, right? So if we move into a place of living mindfully, right? A place where we are present in what is and only what is, right? That's back to that wonderment of a child, right? Back to that space where all we know is right now, right? All we know, every ounce of our energy is poured into what's right now, right? With curiosity, with expectation, not with dread, not with expectation of lack, right? This is that wonderment of just every moment holds the next miracle, right? So that means in relationship, in how we approach life in general, this is a space where we leave those kitchen sink words in the cabinet, right? We leave those home and we show up unencumbered. We show up actually hearing what's being said, actually seeing what is happening, versus walking in the door already in a preconceived story, a preconceived circumstance. You know, the other person doesn't really have a stand a chance in that sort of play, right? They didn't get the script. They don't know that you've got this whole dialogue already playing out in your head, right? And it has little to do maybe with what is actually being said, right? And you're like, is that even possible, right? Is that even possible? Well, yes, it absolutely is possible. It absolutely is possible. And two of my favorite tools for opening our eyes to clarity is the observer and recapitulation, okay? The observer is that part of you when you take 4 or 5 steps back, right? And you can see from a space of objectivity. You can see truth, right? The story falls away. It's that part of you that's always watching. It's always watching. It's not attached to any emotion. You know, when we recapitulation, by the way, is taking a circumstance that caused you discomfort and putting it up on a screen in front of you almost as if you were watching a movie. And being in that place of the observer and being able to watch that circumstance emotion-free. That means you're not taking any part of that circumstance personally. You're being able to see behind the scenes and see what is really at work, right? And the pearl that you can walk away with is the truth or the learning that was intended by the circumstance in the first place. That often gets so lost in the emotional piece, right? In that emotional piece, we are so tangled up that when we back out, we're often plagued with regret. We're plagued with guilt. We're disturbed about how we showed up, right? So, recapitulation being that art of seeing truth, we can pull our circumstances up and see where our triggers are. See, okay, there was this disturbance. What happened right before that? What happened right before that? What thoughts were in my head as this information was coming in that collided to cause this flame. What was that, right? Because here's the thing, just one new or different choice creates the pathway to change, right? So one new choice shifts the trajectory of the circumstance, one way or the other, right? One way or the other. And the only way you can know is to start to play, right? Just start to play. Now we have to go back to the beginning to where it all began, right? When we're looking at these cycles and we begin to see how we're showing up differently, right? And we start seeing these reoccurring patterns, right? We have to go back, say, show me where this started, right? Because we can't just keep picking the scab off, right? And that's what we've been doing all this time, is just picking the scab off. We look at it, it grows back, we pick it off, it grows back, right? Now, we have to go back to where it started so that we can unearth the wisdom that you gained by successfully moving through that circumstance, right? Because if you use the metaphor of a weed in your garden, right? This is very similar in that if you were to go out in your garden and you just break off the top, right? You just break off the top of the root, you throw it down on the ground, it's liable to sprout up over there, number one, maybe in numerous different places. And the same thing here, right? You're going to have a weed or a garden full of weeds in 2.2 seconds if you approach it like that, right? Because it's just going to be sprouting and connecting to that many more things, right? So, the whole point of this game retroactively is to go back and unearth your wisdoms. Learn what you need to know from these circumstances and incorporate it into your being today, right? That fills the holes that we feel like are empty right now, or that are filled with chaos and confusion. It's because the information is locked away, right? Now here's the piece that we tend to back away from. We don't want to feel that emotion that's locked away there. But you know what? What's the alternative? It's to live every day in suffering, because you're actually feeling it. It's just a little slow burn underneath all the time, right? Just always there until it rises up, ruins everything, right? And then it goes back down. So as we're unearthing these packages, we have to allow the emotion to arise, right? Observe it, honor it, validate it, because no one else has, right? Not even you. So validate it, right? Without judgment. Good, bad, or indifferent. Don't judge it. Just watch it and say, yeah, that happened. That happened. And this is the way I responded, right? This is the way I responded. And what could I do differently next time to create a different outcome, right? Because here's the thing, we tend to look at this journey into healing, into wholeness as work. Let's drop that word. It's not work. You're on a treasure hunt. You should be filled with curiosity, with wonder, with magic, right? This is a treasure hunt. And with each piece of truth that you bring home is another piece of you. It's a little piece, each kernel, right? Each kernel of truth is a little piece of you that's coming home. It's coming home. And you feel with each with each homecoming, you feel more integrated, you feel more solid, you feel more whole, you feel more clarity, right? You feel more clarity. Because here's the deal. Each and every second, you're recreating yourself over and over again, right? We're recreating ourselves every second. So you can either duplicate yourself over and over again in the sameness, in the same struggle, in the same pain, in the same suffering, in the same circumstance, or you can choose to do something different. Because changing you changes everything. And untangling yourself from your story is the only way. Right? Don't waste any more time. Mindfulness coach, Cherie, Doyen. Have a great day.